Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we're back with another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
And we're going to be joined later on in the show by our good friend, cuddly Steve Pander. He's just wrapping up his Thanksgiving celebration. So happy Thanksgiving weekend to everyone listening to the show. Did you have a nice Thanksgiving Sunday, Zach?
Yeah, I had a nice meal. Our big celebration, our family, small family get together is tomorrow at my in-laws' house. But yeah, we had a really nice meal, really nice time together. Today's a family. One of our traditions, Michael, is we sit around the table and we go around. We ask each other what we're thankful for. So, Michael McCall, what are you thankful for this year?
I am thankful that football is back and that we can actually get out to games. And in particular, for me, university football and VMSL. I've missed that.
Nice. Yeah, you've been doing lots of videos and reporting on VMSL, right?
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch the Whitecaps game live either on Saturday night because I was commentating up at UBC. What about yourself, Zach? What are you thankful for in particular this year?
I was, as we were talking about the other day, I'm just thankful for our family, all in pretty positive, good health, and
I guess I should say that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at a stage of life where we really enjoy spending time together, which is nice because it's been a significant season of only being able to spend time with limited amount of people. And so I'm really happy for the people I get to spend time with.
Yeah, and it's been good having these sort of fun chats and stuff as well.
Oh, yeah, Zoom has been great.
Yeah, I mean, it's made everything much easier for us to get the show done as well. I genuinely prefer doing the show this way than in the studio. Also prefer chatting to players and coaches by Zoom than face-to-face at the moment as well. It's just, you get them to open up more when it's like this, and you're in the comfort of your home, you've got a nice cup of tea, probably a chocolate digestive. Yeah, it's all good.
I agree with you. It makes life easier to do it this way.
Well, I'm not a very social person, so I guess that plays into it as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I just miss, I know you're not a huge social, but I just miss even just you, Steve, and I in the studio and the camaraderie and the fun and the
I miss you, Zach. Yeah. At least this way, I know the buttons are pressed properly when we're doing stuff, but I'm just joking. We miss you too, Steve. It's okay. He never listens to this show.
I was going to say, you're saying that
he's never going to hear this.
You're sure he's not going to listen?
Yeah, absolutely sure. Anyway, something else we, of course, are thankful for was Steve's present to Zach and myself at Christmas time, which we had in March or something. I've got all your presents for this year. Had them since the start of September. They're all wrapped and everything. It's all great. I
think I have Steve, or part of Steve's at least. I don't think I have yours yet.
What Steve gave us, if you're a regular listener, you will know, was a box of 2011 Upper Deck trading card packs. We're opening them up in all the weekend shows. I think we've got about 7 packs kind of left to do, and then we're putting them together, picking our best 11 as we got them out the packs. We'll rattle through the packs again as usual. Now, I know Kirk always comes up with a name for your pack, so you've had a sneak peek. What's your name this week?
Yeah, Kirk, what's the name?
Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing. I'm not sure why it's called that, but I think I'll find out.
Well, that is also an AEW pay-per-view, so that's good. We're
Kirk,
getting
are you
more
watching
to the wrestling
on
side.
pay-per-view without me knowing? Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll tell you what I watched. GCW. Brutal as anything. The death matches, folk getting their faces and nose sliced open with pizza cutters.
Hey, I haven't asked you or Steve, and I don't know how we haven't talked about this. I saw an advertisement the other day. There's a show.
In Vancouver?
No. A TV show on Crave about wrestling.
Oh, yeah, Heels.
Yeah, it's the guy from it's Arrow or whatever.
CM Punk's in it as well, and Stephen Amell, yes.
I don't know who those.
I have not watched it yet, but I have been told that it is very good, so I do plan on watching it.
I heard it's been reviewed well.
It's something it's on my list of things to catch up with.
Nice.
I will get there.
How far are you in the MCU now?
Oh, we haven't watched anything we're up to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's not bad.
So now that we know that Black Widow is free on Disney Plus, we hope to get to that as well.
Oh, that's a good one.
Sure, everyone's fascinated by this chat. I'll leave it all in, of course.
You want me to tell you about my first card?
Yeah, let's get to the pack. I'll get mine open while you're doing that.
Oh, nice.
I don't cheat.
I have a revolutionary from New England. It's, I believe, fullback, Kevin Alston. Do you remember this guy? I remember.
Yeah,
him.
didn't he dump the tea in the water? Wasn't he one of those guys? I have a legendary name across MLS. Houston Dynamo midfielder. It's Corey Ash, who's made lots of my teams of the week over the years because there's a lot you can do with the name Ash.
I have another new card to me. It is also a fullback, and he is someone you've questioned about where he has been at various points.
Is it Joe Corona? No. Oh,
Jonathan
Johnny
Leathers.
Leathers.
Yes.
Last
You
I
have him.
saw, he was a missionary in Africa.
I think he's doing some business stuff, but yeah, I think he's done some work like that in Africa before.
I've got a goalkeeper from Philadelphia Union, Brian Carroll.
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
Oh, I don't remember my next guy.
Oh, I don't know if I have this guy.
And he's English.
This is a midfielder. He's from the Longhorns from Dallas. It's Marvin Chavez. Do you have him? Do you know him?
I think I do, yes. I just had a little look ahead to mine. I've got two great ones to finish this pack. This guy I don't remember. He's English. That's probably why he's instantly forgettable. From Sporting Kansas City, he's a midfielder. Ryan Smith.
This also looks like another new card to me. It's
These are all new in mine.
Forward from the crew in Columbus. It's Emilio Renteria. I remember the name. I don't remember him super well.
Fancy a little Brazilian? Because I've got it in my hand. From LA Galaxy, he's a midfielder. Juninho.
Oh, nice. I don't have him yet.
Great little player, actually.
Oh, now I get the double or nothing from Kirk. This card I believe you have, but it is definitely new to me. It's midfield forward in his FC Dallas uniform. President of the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Federation, Atiba Harris.
It's tough, let's be honest, to juggle managing two football federations at the same time. Oh, crazy stuff. I have got a legend of the Canadian game, you may want to say.
Oh.
From TFC.
Oh.
Julian de Guzman.
Oh. Yeah, most caps. Did Atiba pass him yet? Or Atiba's about to pass him? Or Atiba's going to pass him?
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually. I think he may have passed him.
Did you say you had an Englishman named Smith?
Yeah, Ryan Smith.
Oh, okay. I have a Scotsman named Smith. It's Colorado's midfield forward, Jamie Smith. Do you remember him?
Vaguely. Okay. And it's weird because I am also finishing with a Scotsman. It's always the best thing to do on a Sunday evening, I find. This was a guy, I forgot how much love I expressed for this guy back in the day. In my pre-Johnny Russell love fest, I had an Adam Muffet love fest instead.
Oh, yes. I remember. He played for Portland for a while, right?
He played for Elgin City against East Fife, and I remember speaking to him at Empire Stadium in 2011. We spoke about lower league Scottish football.
And he remembered that.
Yeah, it was a fantastic little chat we had. So
Was
that
your-
is our cards for this week.
Was it your favorite interview?
Back then, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, my favourite interview from 2011 was after the Man City game, where all the media went to the Man City porter cabin, and I was the only media that went into the Whitecaps one, and I got to speak to all the Whitecaps guys, and the Man City players wouldn't do any media after the match. And then everyone headed back to the Whitecaps porter cabin, but the players had left by that point. So good.
Yeah, that was all new pack for me, so I feel good about that.
Yeah, me too. So I'm delighted by that. So that was our cards for this week, and of course, the man that bequeathed them to us, he's not dead, but he gave it to us as a present anyway, was the lovely Steve. I was just waxing lyrical about him earlier in the show, and I'm delighted to say he's joined us now.
Hello.
He's finished his turkey, he's gobbled everything up. You feeling all stuffed and full of whatever that thing is that makes you sleepy after turkey?
Yeah, what's it called?
I can't remember.
Try something a fan.
Yeah.
Triceratops.
I saw it in a Seinfeld episode.
We were watching actually Jurassic World, speaking of Triceratops.
So you had a nice Thanksgiving?
Yeah, good times. Spent a lot of time in the garage.
What's going on in the garage?
I wasn't going to ask.
It's a joke from Community, the show Community.
Oh, like avoiding your family?
Yeah, avoiding the family.
Oh.
Spend time in the garage.
I was going to ask you, is that like being on a boat?
No. Well, yeah, kind of. With the same things were done on the boat than we're done in the garage.
Of course, something that spoiled a lot of people's Thanksgiving weekend is the football, because it's not a fantastic set of results that we're going to talk about. But we're going to kick off the football chat now, though, by just having a quick look at Sounders Whitecaps, but then talking a bit more MLS after it, because I don't really want to dwell on the game too much, because it wasn't fantastic, but I went to bed feeling quite disappointed by it, Zach, but I woke up not as down because, well, I read your match report and that put me a bit more upbeat. But in general, it wasn't too bad in the second half from the Whitecaps. I think I was just shaping my opinion on what was a horrible first 15, 20 minutes of that game.
I actually, Michael, as I said, I'm to watch the match with my computer open and to take notes and whatever. As soon as so before the match, as soon as I saw the lineup, I began to write the opening. I told Kirk, I said, Kirk, they're gonna concede 4 or 5. Like,
I checked the lineup at halftime up at UBC between the halftime of the women's game, and I saw that defense, and I was like, this is for. It's basically a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, and no, like, again, not trying to rag on players like Metcalf and Hasal, but I think that with other players in those positions, that's not a 4-1 game.
No,
and also with Vancouver actually taking some of the gilt edge chances they were offered or created, it's not a 4-1 game either. But ultimately Seattle is full value for the victory. They show how strong, how deep, and how just overall, like, their overall quality in terms of their preparation, their tactics, their
organization.
Yeah,
they have a system and it works for them.
I mean, that opening. I don't know how much you want to talk about all this, Michael, but that opening goal, Steve, like, that was like something you've been talking about like all year long. Zonal marking.
Yeah,
and one of the simple ways to get around to counteract zonal marking is on corners is by taking it short and making the players move. And they didn't just take it. Seattle just didn't take it short. They had some great interplay wide that totally had everyone on that defense was out of zonal marking mode.
Yeah. Well, Vanny said, you're spot on, because Vanny said it after the game. He said, we usually play a zonal thing, but for some reason they decided to go man to man because the short corner threw them. Yeah.
And in doing that, somehow the man-to-man allowed Markham well either.
The thing is, for me, is like when you're covering the corners and set pieces like that, I feel like man-to-man is better because you can put pressure on those attacking players and throw them off. It's very hard to score on a set piece. It's not as easy as it looks. So if you put if people get the pressure on those people taking those corners, and I think that makes a way bigger difference than that. It's just effort. I'm thinking that they don't have trust in their players giving effort on those corners.
I don't know, but I mean, Shane O'Neill, 5 minutes in, puts them 1-0 up, and right away you think, well, that's going to be a long night ahead. 14th minute, Nicolas Benazet, it's 2-0, and you're like, this could get out of hand pretty quickly. And I know you weren't a big fan of the celebration, Zach. Circle twerks.
It was a double nutmeg, that play, right? It started with Joao Paulo nutmegging Wosu at half, and it ended with Benazet nutmegging us all. Am I thinking of the right goal? Maybe I'm thinking of the right goal, the second one. And I mean, the twerk was, I don't know. Honestly, Michael, when it happened, I said to Kirk, I was like, I think he's injured. The way he started to bend and stuff, I think he hurt himself. And then he started to shake, and I was like, oh no. I was like, avert your eyes, son. Avert your... No.
The thing with both those opening goals was just the horrible marking. Now, just going back to that first one, when you watch the play, I've just written down here, like, Jungwirth had two men that he was dealing with. And then O'Neill somehow manages to run between two defenders, unchallenged, unchecked, and just finishes it. And like, the marking in the second goal wasn't much better. But I said, talking about that other game where Michael Baldissimo was playing in the middle of the back three, he is not a centre-back. Patrick Metcalf is not a centre-back. And I think we won't do it just now, but come the end of the season, when we're doing our end-of-season review, we need to have some serious discussions about the homegrowns and whether they really are of the quality that is necessary. And when you look at a team like Seattle, who were down to their bare bones, had to have an emergency call-up because they had such few players, they still come out with a 4-1 victory because of the depth that they've built. And what they've been fantastic at now for a couple of seasons is integrating their young guys a lot better than we've done here in Vancouver. They've got the minutes alongside good players in games. They've been in the fortunate position of being out of sight in some games, and it allows them to bring the young guys on. And that's something that, if we want to be a club that's bringing on young players, we need to have a better way of doing that, Steve. We need to get them integrated. We've been banging on about this for a couple of years now.
I don't think we can even like you can't really complain about the quality when in the past the Whitecaps academy teams have performed very well against other academy teams throughout the specific leagues. This is a problem about putting them in the right position, showing confidence in them, and having the right players at the MLS level for them to succeed. If you put garbage around them, they're going to become garbage as well. And that's the problem in the past few years.
It's such a big step up, though, from beating these academy teams to suddenly going up against international caliber players.
But what I'm saying is that if you're saying other teams are able to bring their academy players through because they have quality around those players, and those players are supported by those top tier players. Whereas, like, if you, for example, Sounders, how many Sounders players we've talked about before, Ladero in the past. Name the players or wherever they are all along defense, forward, midfield. Those players are of a better quality. Where if the academy players come in, they have somebody to play with. Yeah. And if the Whitecaps are playing with mid-tier to low-tier players, and you bring academy players in there, that's what they're going to turn into, mid-tier, low-tier players.
Well, we should also know as well, because we're going on about the lineup. So just going back to that, some of this was forced upon Vanny because of all the injury situations at the moment. Andy Rose went out at training this week, and for all the criticism that gets levelled at Andy Rose, I think this game showed how important and how much we missed him when he wasn't there. And Zach's putting his hand up.
I still don't think Andy Rose can be a starting center back for your club if you want to show ambition in MLS. However, He's done an amazing job this year, especially filling in and starting. Maybe sometimes I thought he shouldn't, but he still did a good job. But you're right. It showed that how much they missed him in the situation where they're lacking so many starters. I mean, but here's the thing, though. Patrick Metcalf is not a center back.
No,
right? And like you, I know you said it already, Michael. I know Steve said it. I feel bad for him because I don't think he's been horrible when he's, like you guys have said, he's been played in his position in center midfield. But
he's a defensive midfielder.
Yeah,
he's like a Davy Norman Jr. that we had here.
Except for Davy Norman can play centre back. But
yeah. Folk kept saying to me, Patrick Metcalf, he's better than David Norman Jr. at that position. We don't play him at that position.
Yeah, he doesn't play there because there's other players there. But yeah, you can't really truly evaluate him playing centre back or playing wide midfield / wing back. Like,
or bringing him on and giving away a penalty in stoppage time.
Yeah, but
it's not been a good couple of weeks for Patty, is basically what I'm saying.
Wasn't he in like a wide position?
He was. He was playing defensive role. And the thing is as well, you've got Jake Nerwinski back there, who's done not bad, but he's not in a back three and on the left-hand side. Again, that is not ideal.
Yeah, I just want to mention that, you are going to miss Andy Rose when you got other players that are not of that position at all.
Yeah.
Andy Rose isn't even out of that position, and you got players that are probably less experienced in that position. And of course, you're going to miss Andy Rose.
We've got 3 centre-backs out on loan at the moment.
Yeah. And then you had, 2 or 3 injured, right?
Godoy was on the bench.
Wasn't fit to start, and Renko was out injured, right?
Yeah, and Gutierrez, the other defender, and Javane Brown's away with Jamaica.
Right.
Which annoys me when players go away and then don't get minutes, and you really, really could have done with them at your club level. Of course, you should be playing club games at this window, but that's a whole other thing.
I think he got minutes in the first game, but besides the point, you're right. I think it more shows that how much they miss Cornelius, having a guy like Cornelius instead of loaning him out.
The thing with Godoy, when I saw it, I was like, well, if he's on the bench, start him, and then if it goes wrong. But because of his injuries, I guess it's the cautious approach that they probably think, well, are we going to get anything from Seattle? Maybe it's better to make sure that he's good to go for the games that we've got coming up that are really crucial.
I agree with that. I think that's probably why they saw it, like they needed to put in the most healthiest teams, not to make sure they don't aggravate more injuries.
Yeah. I mean, just to rattle through the rest of the first half quickly, Caicedo crashed one off the bar, totally against the run of play, but Seattle had a number of other chances in and around that as well. Then from nowhere, it seemed, the Whitecaps go in at half-time, just 2-1 down, and it was a good team goal. Mm-hmm. And Dahomey, first of all, showed some great footwork in the box, could easily have just tried to do a shot and been selfish himself, but showed awareness of what was going on. Yeah. Gold showed great tenacity. I do think his shot, that Fry kind of scooped it from over the byline, I think it possibly went out, but there didn't seem to be a camera angle that showed that. So obviously no clear and obvious, but that aside, and then the rebound comes back to Gold, who, lovely again, awareness to send it to White, who buries it again. 10th goal of the season now, double figures for a guy that's just joined us in the summer, that's had ups and downs, ropey games, but as you mentioned in your report, Zach, the only Whitecaps player to score in the last 6 games.
Yeah.
Which is concerning.
Very good. It's over a month, I think, now. Yeah. That play, I think the key to that play was, it was the only time, maybe the first time or one of few times that Dahomey, who was playing in one of those wide positions, came inside. And he attacked from the middle, and it caused Seattle problems. I think the sort of like the overload there, plus his skills in the box there to return the ball back to Gold, I think were like what made that happen. And then White was just in the proper place at the proper time.
Yes, as he always should be. But I mean, to go in at 2-1. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know how we're still in this game. And you're like, well, we know that we're a good second half team. We'll see what happens. I want to talk about an incident 5 minutes into the second half. Benazé already on a yellow card, commits a foul. For me, it was a booking. If he hadn't already have been booked, that would have been a booking. He should have gone off. It could have been a game-changing moment. When it's a 4-1 defeat, you feel bad going back and picking over, oh, maybe that would have changed the game, but I really could have.
Yeah, I think it was. I think the referee was lenient. Like I don't think
Tiber wasn't happy with the foul, for one thing.
Yeah. I think Seattle would have been hard pressed to really debate that being a sending off. But I think ultimately what happens is it's one of those cases where a referee knows the player's on a yellow card and doesn't want to send them off, wants to maybe warn them one more time or whatever. But I mean, it's also a little surprising to get booked for the celebration.
Well, that's a point as well, actually, yeah. But he didn't jump into the crowd.
No, but it was just so offensive.
I quite liked it. I used it as the picture in the report.
Oh, yeah, I know. Offensive. Not offensive. I just mean it was like bad. It was not good.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll get a lot of stick when he comes to BC Place in November.
Yeah.
But then 5 minutes after that incident, it goes to 3-1, and you're like, that probably is the game over now. Bruin, just allowed to run through. You know, I mean, he's not a dangerous guy when he's got the ball in front of goal.
Nicely set up, that was nicely laid off by their Colombian.
Yeah. It was a good goal from a Seattle point of view. It was just more horrible defending.
Do you celebrate Will Bruin goals more than the other Seattle goals, Michael? Or I know you're close to that.
Well,
squad.
I was rooting for Freddie to get on the score sheet just because I wanted to see if he would celebrate or not. Probably if MDS was still in charge, he would maybe have celebrated. But of course, he kind of bundled it in the back of the net. We're not really sure who got that final touch, but it was ruled for offside in the 70th minute. And you're thinking, wow, Seattle's just going to run riot now. But then, final 15, 20 minutes, the Whitecaps just turned a screw and just played really well, had some great chances. Daho was played in, and Fry had a great save. There was a white header over the bar that just unfortunately broke to him just too quickly for him to really... He wasn't expecting it as a header. He might have expected the ball to come off Fry and get to his foot or whatever, so I don't blame him too much for that. But they had their chances. They could easily have got this back to 3-2, and then when it gets back to 3-2, who knows what happens after that? Yeah,
it was a quick reaction, right? But you still, like, when the net's that open and you're gifted it like that, you kind of... It was also, I know it was so quick, but it felt like one of those chances where you see where it's harder to miss the net than to not. Mm. But yeah, it was one of those moments that, again, could have swung things back towards Vancouver gaining momentum and getting back into it.
Well, 3-2 would certainly have made a much more interesting couple of closing minutes. It wasn't to be, and in the end, it ended up as 4-1. Choo-choo! Leo Chu.
Yeah, I mean...
This was another horrible goal defensively.
I mean, Jake looked really like this was the one moment where everyone's saying, yeah, he's not a center back.
Yeah, I've written in my notes, poor by Hassal, worse by Jake.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, he's totally got out muscled. But Hassal, I mean, that's the other person. I mean, the two people who got ragged on the most yesterday were Metcalf and Hassal. And I think, Metcalf was not good. I mean, on two of the goals for sure. But Hassal also, like, it's hard not to, when you have a keeper the quality of Maxime Crépeau, it's hard not to dream about what would have happened if he was in there. And I'd say I wouldn't have been surprised if he stopped at least 3 of those goals. Mm. Is that wrong? What do you got? Like, what do you think?
I definitely the fourth one. It was just weak.
The only one that I think it might not have stopped is the opener. The first one between the legs, I think he might get it. That last one below the right hand, I think he gets it.
I'm not sure about the Bruin one.
Well, the Bruin one, because
Bruin might have put it somewhere else, depending on what Max was doing. I think Bruin would have finished that. I think 2 of the 4.
I think Max would also come out a little bit more. On that goal.
Yeah, but who knows? It's all speculation at this point. I mean, a 4-1 defeat. To be honest, I didn't expect the Whitecaps to get much from this. The good thing, though, from a Whitecaps point of view, is this was a make-up game.
Yeah.
So it was their game in hand. It hasn't cost them playoff positioning. The only thing that could have really hurt them this weekend in terms of the standings and the push for the playoffs was the game that took place on Sunday afternoon. Weird to have a game on a Sunday when it's an international calendar as well. Minnesota United, Colorado Rapids. I watched the goals on the MLS website just before we came on here. I'd hoped to watch the 7-minute highlights that's usually up on YouTube, but they're not up yet. So I did a search, and Minnesota United had Minnesota United, Colorado Rapids, match highlights, 50 seconds. And I thought, they showed all 4 things in the sending off in 50 seconds. They showed the kickoff and their goal and a replay of their goal, and that was it. So I quite liked that.
I don't understand how this game played out the way it did.
It is crazy, and like there's pressure on Adrian Heath, and I think if Minnesota don't make the postseason, I think Heath goes at the end of the year. I think they'll bring a new coach in, but Minnesota were in complete control here. They took the lead early on. Who now? Yes, who now? Put the ball in the back of the net in the 8th minute, and then Danny Wilson, good Scottish lad, gets himself sent off at the start of the second half, and you're like, oh well, that's going to be it now.
I knew the result of the match, and I was watching the highlights, and when that happened, I was like, VAR's obviously going to overturn this because I know it's coming, and they didn't. And I was like, okay, so someone from Minnesota's got to get sent off, or something crazy got to happen. But no, they managed to score 3 goals.
3 goals in the last 17 minutes with 10 men. Cole Bassett penalty, Michael Barrios in the 84th minute, and then Lucas Estevez with one of the easiest, first MLS goal, and one of the easiest goals he's going to get as the keeper is up at the halfway line, and I think it's Barrios just chips the ball over him, and Estevez just runs in and puts it in the back of the net. Now, from a Whitecaps point of view, great result. From a Minnesota point of view, that now does a lot mentally to them, because you're at home, they got booed off the park, and the fans clearly not happy. They've made some big signings this year, and
are you sure it wasn't just another Oasis song? Like, ooh, ooh.
Maybe somebody kicked the ball in the stands.
It's a wonder balls up. That's what it is. But that keeps Minnesota in 7th on 38. Whitecaps on 8th with 37. So that could have given Minnesota a little bit of breathing space. So I want to just look at the standings. So the top 4, Seattle, Kansas City, Colorado, Portland, out of sight in the playoffs as far as I'm concerned. We talked about that last week. So still no change from last week. Salt Lake, 5th and 39. LA, 6th and 39. Minnesota, 7th and 28. Vancouver, 8th on 37. All the teams now have played 28 games. So there's 2 points between 5th and 8th. So I just want to look at the games that the teams have just coming up. And I'll start with Salt Lake. So there's 6 games that they've got left. I want you to give me how many points you think that they're maybe going to get from these games. So don't do it as we go along. Just keep the points in your head. So they're at home to Colorado. They're away to Chicago. They're away to Dallas. They're at home to San Jose. They're at home to Portland. And they're away to Kansas City. Now, looking at that from my point of view, I think Chicago's probably a 3 points to them. Colorado do well when they go there, so I don't know that they're going to get much from that. And then you're looking, I think they'll beat San Jose, maybe beat Dallas. I think at best they're going to get 9 points from those 6 games.
Yeah, I would say, I was actually going to say 6 or 7. I think 6, 7.
I think 9's being generous. I think 7 somewhere
points.
In 6 to 9.
Yeah, I'm saying 6 to 7 because of the fact that they have not responded well to the coaching change. Obviously, it wasn't really their doing. The guy left. And yeah, they haven't responded well to that. Like they've had a few games here and there, depending on the opponents, where they actually pulled it out. But it's been hit and miss, and you got a 6-1 loss to Portland, but you also beat the Galaxy 2-1. So they're very, I would say 6 to 7 points would be definite, and they could get more for sure.
What about you, Zach?
Yeah, that all seems reasonable. 6 or 7.
Okay, let's say 7. And we'll kind of pencil that in. So that's going to put them then on 46. Obviously, this is mass speculation at this point, but I like doing these kind of things. LA Galaxy now, tied on 39 points, in a horrible run of form just now. And they don't have it easy for their running either. They're at home to Portland. They're away to Houston. They're at home to Dallas. They're away to Kansas City. They're away to Seattle. And then they're home to Minnesota. Now, again, if I'm being generous here, I think they'll beat Houston.
Yeah.
I think they'll beat Minnesota. And they'll probably beat Dallas. So I might look at 9 points here.
No, I'm not giving them the win against Houston. They don't travel that well. I would give
Houston
them,
are good at home.
And I'm not even sure if they would beat Minnesota on the last day. I call that a draw. So for me, it's 5 points at the most.
Oh, I was gonna say I mostly agree with Michael, so I was gonna say maybe 10.
No,
10.
You guys are. Have you seen what the results are in the last few weeks?
I know, but you have to feel that Vanny's going to at some point turn things around.
Some point, it's only 6 games to go. How many?
Right.
What some point is there?
It's the Greg father. Come on.
It's
right.
It's who they think we are, or who they think they are.
Let's give them 7, because that's splitting the difference between Steve's 5 and my 9. So we'll give them 7, which also puts them on 46 points.
No, I don't see them getting that many points. I honestly don't. They're dropped like a. I'm trying to see the last time they won a game. Where was it?
We're going back about 5 weeks now, I think, actually.
August 14th was the last
More
time
than
they won
that,
a game.
yeah. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It's either been
8,
draws or
9
losses.
games without a win.
So yeah, okay.
So I'm just saying that I don't see a Houston away is definite, and I don't see a last game at home being a definite either.
Yeah,
For me,
the Minnesota game for me is a little more iffy, but I still think they'll pull that off.
If we look at Minnesota now, another team not in a great run of form either. They beat Houston on the 25th of September. Since then, they've lost to DC United, they drew at Dallas, and then they lost today to Colorado. Now, what they've got coming up, an interesting one, away to Austin, then at home to Philly, at home to LAFC, away to the Whitecaps, at home to Kansas City, and then away to the Galaxy. I don't see them. I could genuinely see them not getting another point for the rest of the season.
No, I see them.
That seems way too low, Mike.
I know, that does seem harsh.
I could see them getting about 3. Actually, I see them getting all draws. I don't see a winnable game here anywhere, but I do see draws a lot.
Possibly a draw with LAFC because they don't travel well.
I say 4 draws potentially out of the last 6 games. I think that they're going to sputter because of that, because they won't be able to turn games into wins.
That Austin one looms huge for them because they're coming off that Colorado defeat, and then they've got Austin, who are really good at home. What's your thoughts on that, Zach?
They have to win that one. I think, maybe 4, 5, or 6.
I would say 5, maybe a win and 2 draws.
All right, let's be generous and give them 5. I can't. I think Austin might beat them, but that would be the only game I could possibly see them getting a win. But let's give them 5 anyway.
That's where I don't get you guys, because they're on a better run. They actually have won games instead of the LA Galaxy, and you guys had the Galaxy winning 10 points.
Yeah, their road form, though, they've only won 2 games on the road all season. So they're not great.
But the Galaxy haven't won any games.
They haven't won any for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
So then we come to the Whitecaps. I'm keeping LAFC out of it just now because basically I feel this is in the Whitecaps' hands. It's only theirs to blow really just now. So they've got Kansas City next weekend at BC Place. Away to Portland, away to San Jose, home to Minnesota, away to LAFC, home to Seattle. Now, I see a point next weekend against Kansas City. I thought Kansas City's road form was terrible, and then when I looked at it earlier, it's like, oh, no, it's not. They've got 7 wins on the road from their 13 games that they've played, and they've only lost 4 of those 13 on the road. So
Yeah.
I could see that one being a draw at the weekend. Portland, I'd be surprised if they get anything there. See them beating San Jose. See them beating Minnesota.
Yeah, I see a draw against Kansas City. I think you're right there. I see a draw against San Jose because of it being a road game. I definitely see a win against Minnesota, and then so that puts them on 5 points. And I think they basically need to win one of their last 2 games, either in LA or at home to Seattle.
I think what I said this when I did a hit on Seattle radio during the week previewing this game. Our dream scenario for that last game of the season, if we need to get a win, is Seattle rest a ton of players, although that might not help us looking at how things went yesterday. But if they rest a ton of players because they're already clinched their spot and they've got a couple of weeks to just play with what they want.
Yeah, Michael, I really don't know if that's it is actually the best case scenario, not only because of Seattle's quality and in their depth, but because those players, if that's what they chose to do in the scenario you laid out, are going to be giving their all because they want to be a viable option in the playoffs.
That is true, yeah.
So for me,
I only see Vancouver getting, and this is I've been more optimistic in previous weeks. I think they might only get 4 or 5 points of those remaining games.
I don't think they'll win either of the last 2, and I think they'll get 7 before that, though, because I think they'll get 2 wins. I think they'll win in San Jose, and I think they'll beat Minnesota and a draw with Kansas City. But you're not convinced.
I'm not sure about the win in San Jose, unless it all depends on how healthy they get by then. Like these next 2 games, if they can draw against Kansas City and not worry too much about the game against Portland, maybe play the B team, and then get that healthy full lineup against San Jose, then they have a chance for sure.
Between San Jose and Minnesota, I see them getting 4 points and then one other one somewhere else.
Yeah.
What's concerning about that then is going by our little tally, they would not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
you heard it here first.
By a couple of points. Yeah.
Who's making this last spot? Who do we have?
We've got Mini just scraping in, possibly by 1 or 2 points over the Whitecaps.
But that does not include an unbeaten run from Bob Bradley's Goats 2.
Yeah, well, we've already got them in, even with that.
Right.
Oh no, yeah, we hadn't. Sorry, Bob Bradley. Yeah,
Bob
we hadn't
Bradley.
Looked at LAFC, so they could come up the rear.
I think you guys are honestly. I still think you're giving way too much credit to the Galaxy.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think that. I think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs personally. I think the Vancouver might slip in just because not. Or how did they say, like, back their way in, like people used to always say.
Oh yeah, that you always used to really annoy me. Yeah.
Well,
I think that is it for our MLS chat for this week.
Thank God.
Yeah, I think we talked a lot more than I planned in this part, but we'll move on to the international scene next, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Maxime Crépeau from the Vancouver Whitecaps, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for October. From down under Australia, it's The Chats, the most Australian band in the world. That is a song from their debut album that came out last year called High Risk Behaviour, and that was Identity Theft. Yes. Fantastic old school punk sound from The Chats. I love them. We've got a lot more songs for them to come this month. Let me know what you think of them. And I guess talking about stealing people's identity, someone seemed to steal the Whitecaps' identity in that game down in Seattle, because it certainly didn't look like the Whitecaps that we've seen the last few weeks at moments of that game. And I don't know. It's been weird to kind of say what identity a lot of the teams in the World Cup qualifiers have at the moment, because interesting results in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. We're going to get to that shortly. Have to talk first though about Scotland. 94th minute winner, Scott McTominay, putting us on the verge of the playoffs to get to Qatar. Although we could be facing the likes of Sweden or Spain or Switzerland or Portugal in those playoffs. So it might not be fantastic after all. But we'll see what happens there. My dream, of course, is Scotland and Canada being at this World Cup. It's never happened since 1986. And I didn't care about Canada much back then, if I'm being totally honest. So at least this time I would have been really enjoying it.
Do you want them in the same group?
Oh, yeah, because it'd be an easy 3 points for ... Sadly, Canada, but yeah, well, and I'm sure John Herdman would love to get the better of the Scots and me the next time I speak to him. But anyway, let's turn our attention to John Herdman's men, Canada. 2 big World Cup qualifiers on the road for them in the last few days. 4 points. 4 points taken from them? No, it wasn't. 2 points taken for them. What was I thinking? It could have been 4 points taken from them. I think that's what I was thinking. A point in the Azteca.
It could have been 6.
Such a big deal of that. Yeah. Yeah. Could also have been nothing, but we'll come to that. A 1-0 draw with Mexico. Fantastic result on Thursday in the Azteca. Followed up by a point is a point on the road in Jamaica, on a pitch that looked like the crowd weren't there because they'd smoked half the pitch. But it does feel like a missed opportunity hanging over them so far, much like that opening draw with Honduras at home is hanging over them. We'll get into all this. We're not going to break down the games thoroughly. We're just going to talk generally about it. But let's head to Mexico for that first game on Thursday night. Canada, better team in the first half, missing some key players as well. Really not afraid to take the game to Mexico, which was great to see. Larray had a chance in the 15th minute that was saved. Rebound fell to Teon Buchanan, who blasted over. 6 minutes later though, Mexico makes it 1-0 through Sanchez, and I wondered at that point, is that it? They're going to maybe turn the heat up, run out comfortable winners by a couple of goals here. But for the second straight away game against one of the top 2 sides in CONCACAF, they fought back. Fonzie should have scored in the 31st minute. That was one of the misses of the year there. Vittoria had a header in the 40th minute that he should probably got in the back of the net. But 3 minutes before half-time, it was 1-1. Fonzie slips in Osorio. He buries it. Absolutely fantastic first half, Zach.
It was a joy to watch. I mean,
it was.
They accredited themselves so well. Like, they played so well, and they could have easily been up at the half. They were
the better team.
Yeah.
I think they genuinely could have gone in 2-1, 3-1 up.
It really took the play to Mexico, and it was just so encouraging. It's strange to I know we've said this multiple times along this journey towards the World Cup in 2022 and at the Gold Cup and whatnot. But it still is a little strange, having so much, not even hope, so much anticipation and so much expectation.
Well, it's also helped because teams are beating each other all over the place as well, which is
Yes,
it's kept the table so tight and so congested.
totally.
Mexico's starting to run away with things, which is what we wanted because they're always going to be the team that's going to go. It's a massive shock if Mexico don't get through to a World Cup with the talent that they have. But I mean, how were you feeling at halftime, Steve?
Oh, somewhat nervous, but like I said, at that point, I wasn't. I was just hoping for a good showing. I wasn't expecting a result, so I was just hoping for a good showing, staying close, show that you belong, and kind of try to carry that forward to the next game.
That's a great way of wording that, actually, showing that they belong, because
Yeah.
these are the kind of games that for Canada to be in the equation as one of the top teams in CONCACAF, it's fine beating the other teams, but if you end up rolling over and getting beat constantly by the US and Mexico, it just means you're third best in CONCACAF in a region that two teams are walking away with it. Now that isn't the case anymore.
And I think it's I can't. You guys might want to correct me on this and might want to check this up. So I'm not 100% sure if I remember this correctly, but I believe it's the 10th side to ever take a point
Yes,
off Mexico in the Azteca or something like that since in World Cup qualifying.
since
So it's
1934 or something, wasn't
yeah,
it?
10th side for that. And then I believe it might be the only team that's taking points off the US and Mexico in a qualifying.
Like
Obviously
on the road?
on the road, yeah, that's what I mean. On the road.
Wow.
So that might be the case, but I could have heard it wrong. So
First
I'm not
one's
100%
definitely right. Second one I hadn't heard, but I mean, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, I'll be honest. As good as they played in that first half, I thought there's no way that Mexico is going to be that bad in the second half. So I'm thinking they're going to turn it up and they'll probably put away a couple of goals. And there were spells in that second half that Canada did well to hold on. But, I mean, Johnson crashed a header off the bar. Mexico had a goal disallowed. Max could have given away a penalty for being draped all over the player. But then, as the game went on, Canada had chances to win it. And I think their best chance came in the 81st minute. It was that 3-on-2 break that they had, that they really... That's the kind of thing that if you miss out in qualification, you look back at moments like that and it haunts you.
Yeah.
Because that should have been buried. That should have been put away. But, I mean, to come away with a point, I think you said, Steve, last week or the week before when we were talking about this, that you thought they could go there and get something. I genuinely didn't.
I thought they had a chance. It depended on how Mexico performed and everything. It's all on them. If they perform like they're supposed to, then nobody should be able to get a point off them at home. But if they're lackadaisical and Canada or any team puts in their best effort, I think anybody, then you got a chance there. And like I said, it's all going to depend on Mexico. And Mexico, like you said, didn't show, like they showed today what they're capable of, but that day they weren't really into it. It seemed like, and it has to. You have to give credit to Canada too. You just can't say, "Oh, it's just Mexico not playing."
No, that's yeah.
And Canada went in there and played and put them off their game a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, Canada was so aggressive in their attack, but also in their defending, and yeah, I think they totally put them off. I think that in general they probably had it's fair to say they had an off day, but I think Canada played a large role in that. I think the Gold Cup played a role in that. I think Mexico knew
for sure
they couldn't just steamroll Canada because it was at the Azteca. I think many of their players knew from their Gold Cup experience that this was going to be a battle, and so I think it affected their mentality and their they didn't just try and come out and like just crush them from the off. They knew they're going to have to fight for to score and to win.
And Mexico also benefited from being able to like recover because of those chances that they had. So they benefited from those chances.
Yeah,
for them.
Let's talk about that, because of course this was a game that was meant to be played with no fans because of the chants and stuff that the Mexican fans have been doing, and they had a 2-game ban. That was then cut in half for, I don't know, good behaviour or whatever FIFA termed it as. And of course, then this game gets stopped. Now, I wanted to ask John Herdman this after the game, but they had limited questions and I wasn't able to. It always seems to be detrimental to Mexico's opponents when this happens, because it gives Mexico the chance to regroup as well. And it always seems to be happening when another team's starting to be on top. At the Gold Cup, Canada were in the ascendancy. Then you get the stoppage, and then Mexico regroup and they get the winner. And I was just waiting for them to score off the corner because I thought it would have kind of disorganised Canada a little bit. But thankfully not. This clearly is not working, stopping the games. They need to do something else. Yeah. And it is detrimental to the opponents as much as it is, if not more, to Mexico. So, I mean, folks talked about docking points. I don't know what the answer is, but this isn't the answer.
No, it definitely has become a tactical thing that the maybe the players and the manager are not using themselves, but their supporters are savvy.
Oh, they're very astute football fans. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked and joked a lot on the show before about Wesley Charles back in his time with the Whitecaps from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and how around the 75th minute mark, like virtually every match he played in, he would go down and stay down, not because he was actually hurt, just because he was in his early mid 30s and he wanted a breather, and it was just like a routine. It was like a routine for him. And it was just, and he knew he could do it. He knew he could make it look like he would, and would give him the moment, the 30 seconds, a minute and a half, whatever he needed, just to catch his breath, just to pause, to give him enough to go for the final 15 minutes of a game. And yeah, I think we're at a place where you're right, Michael. The response to the behavior is not, is actually probably helping and maybe even facilitating facilitating that behavior. So I think they need to maybe look at that and maybe alter things. Yeah.
And not getting into, I know when I've tweeted about this, I've had Mexican fans going, it isn't homophobic, etc., etc., etc. Now, whatever your view on that is, Mexican fans, it doesn't matter, because that's how it's been deemed, and these are the rules in place. Yeah. So you know what's happening. Yeah, whether you do it or not, and you're still continuing to do it, so something else has to happen.
Yeah, here's the thing though, when it comes to like harassment and stuff, I don't know if you guys have had to do any like training for your workplaces or whatever. I assume maybe you have, but like when it comes
I've got impeccable behavior at work. Oh, do you mean? No. I thought you meant I'd been sent away in some specialised training courses like after staff complaints. That's not happened for a number of years now.
No, but here's the thing when it comes to the harassment, right? It's not the intent of the person who's saying it. It's how it is received by individuals. And so again, I totally understand that there are those in Mexico who are saying, for us, this is not what other people feel it is. But the problem is, it has been deemed by people that it is or can be taken in this way, and therefore the broader world community or the broader CONCACAF community has said this is unacceptable. And so I think for some people to put their head in the sand and say no, we're gonna die on this hill is probably ultimately going to be pretty foolish for them, because I think
it's going to cost their team.
Yeah, I think it's only going to continue to cost their team to the point where it's going to seriously cost them something, and then it'll either stop or there'll be, let's call it bigger issues in the state.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, right now they're walking away with qualification, so even if they're docked points, it probably won't be that detrimental. But I think that is the only way to deal with it. I don't know. It's just so sad that we even have to be continuing to talk about this. Now, the other thing, of course, that there isn't in these qualifiers is that there's no VAR.
Yeah.
And I've said before, I love games that's played with no VAR. I think in these qualifiers, though, and VAR benefited Scotland hugely in their World Cup qualifier against Israel, but it's got folk like they're looking to introduce VAR in the Scottish Premier League, and folks been against it. After this weekend, folks like, oh, I love VAR. Let's get VAR in. But
VAR was essentially created for CONCACAF refereeing.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the fact that it's not used in CONCACAF, that's the biggest shame about the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even just these Canada games. It's other games around CONCACAF. It's just, it needs to be here.
It's literally a different game.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable watching these games. Every game, there's multiple times where you're like, if VAR was involved, the outcome of the situation and potentially or obviously the outcome of the game would be different.
No, don't say would, because you have to also remember it's CONCACAF officials that's doing the VAR.
Wow.
So
you know what I'm saying.
It's like, no, he still has a leg. It's still hanging on by a thread. That is never a booking.
But no, it feels like a different game.
Yeah,
like,
it's
all these players. You can tell there's so many times where you can just see on the replay. You're like, the guys. You can see it like processing. Like, no one's watching. No, the referee can't see this. I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna hit him. I'm gonna take him out. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, little crunch of the balls or whatever. It's like, that's not going to get picked up. A little elbow here or there. Like Mark Anthony Kay today gets an elbow in the chest.
Yes,
it was a soft one. It wouldn't have been anything more anyway. But that's the kind of thing.
Have you seen some Diego Rodriguez's out there?
I haven't in this, but I was going to say, I always think of Diego Rodriguez, but not constantly. Only when I'm spending special time with my wife. But yeah, no VAR. Now, before we get to the Jamaica game, after the Mexico game, there was a lot of chatter that I saw. It was even put to John Herdman in his post-game chat as well, about why have you gone for it against Mexico, where you could maybe have put a weaker lineup and saved your guys, not had your guys picking up bookings to be suspended for the Jamaica game. That's the more winnable game and the more important game. And you could be looking at getting 6 points from beating Jamaica and Panama, and you weren't maybe going to get much from that anyway. And that was immediately after the Mexico game. Now, I haven't checked a lot online after this, but I'm sure the folk that were saying that after the Mexico game will have been very adamant that by going for it for Mexico cost them against Jamaica today. I do see both sides of that argument, Zach, but going back to what we're saying and what Steve said, if you want to make a statement that you're here to belong and show that you belong, you have to go for it in every game. And I don't think it was wrong to go for it at the Azteca.
No, I agree with you. We've talked a lot over the years of how with footballers, confidence is a big thing. So I think that I think John Herdman knows that. Two, I think that, his approach is, we want to be a team and we're good enough to be a team that wants to win every game. And if I do things that maybe show that my actions don't align with what I'm saying when it comes to that, it might upset the balance, the mentality of the squad. So I wonder how much that kind of stuff plays into it. But it's a valid thing to talk about. But again,
but when you look at that bench though against Mexico, it wasn't a strong bench. It's like I think his hand was kind of forced with who he had to play.
But let's see. Okay, let's go over who they lost to the Jamaica game. Who did they lose? Richard Larea, right? Yeah. For me, Samuel. I know. Toronto media might not agree, but I don't see a big drop off between Richie Larea and Sam Adekugbe. I don't see a big drop off. Talking big drop off.
I think offensively, Larea maybe brings more, but I do like Sam better defensively. I've got to say.
Sam had a fantastic Gold Cup game when he was connecting with Alfonso on the left side. Today, they seem to have no chemistry at all, but typically they're really good. So personally, I don't see a massive drop off.
I agree with Michael in terms of the offensive output from Richie.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But then you got Victoria to Daniel Henry. Daniel Henry might have been the starter anyways in this game because of the fact that how he sets up against the Jamaican forwards. He's a more physical.
Please call him by his proper name. That's Captain Daniel Henry.
Yeah.
He
And so
wasn't bad today. I'll give him that.
I don't think anybody in the back line was bad today. I think they were solid all across. And I think like Alistair Johnston had some fantastic saves on the back line. Cornelius was really good. I thought he moved the ball up the pitch.
If only Vancouver had a center back like Derek Cornelius.
I would have helped us so much this weekend. Oh no, wait a minute, that wouldn't have actually worked. Yeah, one of our 3 centre backs out on loan. The way of looking at it like that, Herdman was the final question of his thing post Jamaica. He was asked, why did you do that? Basically, why did you put so many eggs in the basket for this game? And he just turned it around and said, "Did you enjoy the game?"
Yeah.
It was Derek Van Diest that was asking. He's like, "Yeah." It's like, well, that's all I need to say.
Yeah, he didn't even need to go with that. He should have said that. If he gave a proper answer, I think he would have been more.
He did. He paused and then kind of decided, because I think Derek was waiting for him to elaborate, and he wasn't going to. But then he did elaborate a little bit more. But
okay.
Hindsight, of course, is a great thing, but I genuinely don't know, like, who you would have changed for that Mexico game and saved them for today. It's like, would you not have played Jonathan David? Is that the big thing? Who would you have played then? Because
was Tejan suspended too, or?
Oh yes.
Okay, yes. So they're definitely, you missed somebody there because no offense to Liam Miller, but I don't know if you want to start talking about the game, but
let's start talking about the game.
Yeah, his miss was. I wish there was somebody else in that position because I didn't feel like I think he took his too much time and he didn't really just slam it in there.
If he'd hit it, I think anywhere else, on goal, it would have been in the back of the net.
Michael,
he took too much time.
Was it you who said he played it safe?
No.
Well, maybe it was on the broadcast. I feel like he was.
But he did, yeah.
He was so concerned to get it on goal that he kind of went soft at it. When I know he was probably better to take it first time, but I even felt like he could have taken a touch and then smashed it.
Yeah, he could have taken a touch, see where you want to put it, and even I think he could have passed it back across the box, and it would have been an easy tap in. I think a guy like I think Buchanan definitely would have put it in, but I don't know if he's injured, but I think Carbonneau. I think he would have been a good.
Wasn't he in the original squad?
I know what's going on with him. I didn't hear
that.
anything.
I don't actually know. I hadn't paid.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
To that.
I was thinking like if he was in that spot, because he would have been. If he was called up, I think he would have been I think he would have slammed it in too, because he's one of those types that just hits it and where he needs to hit it, and he's a good goal scorer.
The first half of the Jamaica game, I mean, it wasn't a classic. Both teams had their chances. It did liven up a bit in the second half, and Canada, I mean, they did ride their luck a little bit, ball crashing off the post, but Canada had their chances as well. It was a game that was there for the taking for sure, and it does feel like 2 points lost, but at the same time, I think you have to give Jamaica some credit. They could easily have won it, and I think a draw is kind of a fair result at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I think I talked to you guys about it during the game. I don't know if it was the letdown from the Mexico result, because it was a huge result, or it was a combination of the conditions in Jamaica, like the pitch and you're going from altitude to heat, like humid weather. I don't know which one it is, but it seemed like they were just like off. They weren't the same Canadian team we've seen in the first few games and in the Gold Cup and everything. So it's something seemed off about this game.
I hold it pulled out of the team right in warm up, right? Like he was supposed to start. He was supposed to be
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was supposed to be for Miller.
Oh, okay.
See the things you miss, Steve, when we watch with the sound down.
Yeah. I felt it's just so hard to see them not win this game.
Yeah.
Even like at those last 10 minutes, I think we were talking and we were messaging each other talking about how like it does not appear like Blake can move too far. Like
and we didn't test him.
No, he did not get tested at all.
Yeah, something was going on with his legs. He wasn't able to move. He had no movement. And if
at
they
the final whistle, he really hobbled off.
If they could have got a shot on net, they would have scored.
Yeah.
To
anything to a top
like
corner, he was not getting to that.
Nope, not at all.
easier said than done, of course. I mean, heading into these 3 games, I said the bare minimum, they need to get 4 points with a win over Panama at home, but ideally 6. So obviously the Panama game's coming up on Wednesday, so there is still a chance to get 4. The grand scheme of things, which is the phrase I love to use when we're looking at all these things, it hasn't cost them too much. I mean, let's just look at the results from today. And I watched the Panama-US game at the same time. I had that up on One Soccer on the laptop and then had the game on the TV. Panama were dominant in that. The US did not get a shot on target for the whole 90 minutes. Someone tagged me on Twitter saying, the US men's national team Twitter is entertaining tonight. So I thought, I'll have a little look at that. Oh my, the sky is falling, and the hate that Berhalter is getting, especially for his team selection, a lot of it deserves, I've got to say, the way that they played. Panama could easily have won that 3 or 4-0. It's like they had so many chances. And that 1-0 win, it's like, Zach and me were chatting about this. It's great to see the US lose. But from a Canadian point of view, that was not a good result.
Not at all. But again, we cannot iterate enough as Canadians how enjoyable it is to see American lose, and to just, again, if we could harness all those Twitter tears into like a rain supply to put out the forest fires in like California and Cascadia and wherever, it would be so useful. But
I actually saw a Canadian fan though in one of the threads when folk were going on about it, going, well, at least you didn't draw in Jamaica. And it's like, that's a decent result as opposed to getting beat in Panama.
Yeah.
People just look at the standings and they see, Jamaica, they're at the bottom, and then you got to draw against them. That's not good enough. Yeah. They're not realizing how good Jamaica actually is. That they just haven't been. For me, it's like, a draw would have been ideal. Was Panama the game that they lost, and when they missed the qualifying last time? Or
that was Trinidad, but they did lose to Panama the last time.
But that was Trinidad was the last game, right?
Yeah.
No, good dudes. Panama, I think El Raton was playing for Panama, and this was pre-VAR, and I think that's when Panama got given a goal when the ball didn't really go in.
That's the one. I remember that one.
I remember that. Oh,
that was a crazy last game.
Oh, that's made my.
That's why.
That's my Thanksgiving thanks for reminding me of that.
That's why in this game, like, I know 2 points lost against Jamaica. That's why this next game against Panama is so vital. They need to win this.
I know we say a lot, it's a massive game, it's a huge game. This is huge.
Because their next 3 games are at home. And so it'd be ideal if they could pick up all 9 points. I know it's against Panama, Mexico, and Costa Rica, three very, although Costa Rica obviously not as good as they used to be, or last round, but still 3 very decent teams. But 9 points puts them at right now at 17.
Isn't it?
Or 16? Sorry, 16. Yeah, but if they could get, like I said, these 9 points, that puts them at 16 with essentially 6 games to go. And I think or 7 games. I can't remember what it is now. I'm drawing a blank.
It's a whole merging.
There's too many numbers. But 16 points after the first 2 rounds of qualifying, and with 3 more to go, that's essentially where you want to be. That would be perfect conditions.
Now, I know Panama were at home today, so it's obviously going to be different when they're on the road. They might sit back, or they might try.
Well, the thing is that they're not going to be as desperate coming into Canada.
No, they'll be happy with a point if they come away with a point as well. But they genuinely were impressive today. It's like the speed of their movement going forward was great to see. The other results today, El Salvador blew a massive opportunity. They were 1-0 up at half-time in Costa Rica. Then Costa Rica scored 2 quick goals at the start of the second half, came away with a 2-1 win. And then Honduras, fairly comfortable 3-0 winners. Sorry, Mexico, fairly comfortable 3-0 winners over Honduras.
I'm sure Honduras was comfortable in their 3 games. 3 games loss.
Yeah, they were.
They didn't have to really put up much of an effort.
So, I mean, when you look at the table, Jamaica bottom, 2 points. Honduras 7th, 3 points. that's teams that we've just dropped 4 points to.
Yeah,
that is what makes it particularly tough.
The Honduras game was tougher.
Yeah,
and so,
the first game
so
as well, and Honduras were looking decent in that.
Yeah, they essentially need to make that up by going to Honduras and winning the game that they have there. They need to make up that drop.
There's no PTSD around that.
No, not at all.
But you look at second place US down to sixth place El Salvador, and there's only 3 points separating the two teams, or all the teams in between that. So you've got 3 points separating 5 teams. Now, whether El Salvador are going to be contenders, I think if they'd got the win today, you could maybe put them into that equation. Costa Rica, I was going to say they're not my father's Costa Rica, but they kind of are my father's Costa Rica, because when he was around, they weren't that good, and they seem to have gone back to that. They're not the Costa Rica for a few years ago.
The thing is, looking at the table too, Canada and Mexico are the only teams that haven't suffered a loss yet.
Yeah, so that's a positive to take from it.
You want to avoid that as long as possible.
I mean, we've dropped to 4th now, which a bit of a worry. Not as much of a worry if we beat Panama. Worst case scenario, we lose to Panama, then it's a little bit of panic stations. I think it's kind of fair to say.
Yeah, but U.S. is playing Costa Rica at home, and you got to think U.S. is going to win that. Mexico's at El Salvador. So that's maybe a draw.
It's all about Canada taking care of business at home against Panama.
Yeah.
They need to win that game. It's not the end of the world, but they need to win the game. They can't settle for a draw.
The thing I'm looking forward to outside of Canada with this is the US, because they've still got to play Mexico twice.
Yeah.
And they've got to come up to here.
Yeah.
Now, if they weren't to take any points from those 3 games, they could be in a lot of trouble. And I'm here for it.
Seriously, if one of these young engineers could turn Twitter tears into something meaningful in the world,
it'd be fantastic.
They could just harness that energy into something.
Well, in the November 2-game series, obviously they're hosting Costa Rica, but they got to play Mexico at home, and they got to play Jamaica on the road, and that's the 2-game. I'm wondering if they only pick up a single point, or maybe that out of those 2 games, that we might see MLS Cup winning Bruce Arena take over the national team.
Yeah, but tell you what, you could see Bob Bradley take it over, because he might be out of a job at LAFC by that point.
You got a very good point.
Remember what happened last time Bruce Arena came in to save the day.
Yeah. But he's coming off of MLS Cup.
Yes.
That doesn't matter.
Fingers crossed that it's him, and I'd prefer it to be us, but I think that's maybe stretching the realms of fantasy, and I think I've done enough in this part. But yeah, it's exciting times. The next game coming up on Wednesday. We'll cover that in next weekend's show. That is it for our Canada chat, our World Cup qualifying chat. Have to bid adieu to Steve now. He's got work early in the morning. He does not get gobble day off. Just before you go, Steve, let folk know where they can find you online. I won't ask you what you've learned this week. It's clearly not to eat so much turkey.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
So thanks for Steve for dropping by. He's away to go into his turkey coma. Still more to come from us, though. We're going to be turning our attentions back home, back to local soccer, and a good Canadian tradition, starting a new football league. And we'll be back chatting about that after this.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Davies, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, I've gone with a Canadian artist. A couple of folk have said to me, why don't you play more Canadian music on the show? Do you hate all Canadian music? No, I love loads of Canadian bands. I've just been really lazy at discovering new Canadian bands. And of course that song isn't by a new Canadian band, it's by a band that I was very much into in the 2000s. Billy Talent. That was their song, Fallen Leaves. I thought very appropriate at this wonderful time of year. I love the fall. I love all the brown leaves and the trees, and not as much of a big fan of them being on the ground cluttering up the drainage systems, but it's a beautiful time of year. I do love it. For Thanksgiving, Billy Talent there from their second album, Billy Talent 2 in 2006, Fallen Leaves. And fun fact, well, maybe not fun, but a fact, I took Caitlin to see Billy Talent in Glasgow. And I wanted to get right down the front, and we were right in front of the speaker, or more likely Caitlin was in front of the speaker. And she's had hearing damage since that concert, and her ear has this constant kind of clicking, kind of popping sound in it. That was in the same venue where she got put through a railing in a mosh pit that I had her down the front as well. Yep, we've been married for 19 years this year, so obviously doing something right.
She must really love you.
She must. It's that or fear. I don't know.
Needs must, as you say.
Yes. Anyway, love you, Caitlin. Happy Thanksgiving. One day your ear will get better. But as I mentioned at the end of the last part, it's Thanksgiving, it's Canada, it's a special time in Canada. What does Canada do best in the football world? We launch new leagues. In the most recent seasons, we have launched a lot. And officially this past week, League One BC was announced. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in this part, Zach and myself. We're only going to talk about what is out there. There's a lot of other rumours and things. If you're in local soccer scene, there's been a lot of chatter over the past year or so about things that might be happening, teams that might be involved. But let's talk about what we do know. So the official announcement was made by BC Soccer this week. And if you haven't yet, and you've got an interest in this, check out the latest Cones and Pennies podcast by Pete Shad. Yeah. Fantastic 40-odd minute podcast covering a lot of stuff to do with the new league. In summary, it's set to start in May next year. There's going to be 7 teams in the league. The final's going to be played on BC Day, so you're talking May to the start of August. They want to cover as many communities in BC as possible and have this as a community league. Now, obviously, it might not be all these communities that they want to hit from the start, but ideally they want to be in the Lower Mainland, they want to be in the Vancouver area, they want to be in the Fraser Valley, they want to be in the island, they want to be in the interior. Eventually, I guess they'd maybe want to be in northern BC and stuff as well. Have a couple of Okanagan communities as an example, North Island, South Island, all these kind of things. But initially there will be 7 teams. They are going to be announced in the coming weeks and months, what the teams will be, what their identities will be. The official league logo will get launched as well. So some folk have seen the logo that comes out just now, which there's no getting away from it. It does look like it says UBC, but it is a temporary logo. They just wanted something in BC Soccer colours.
I hadn't heard that. So it is temporary.
Yeah, that's not the official logo. They're going to be unveiling that. That was just a temporary one. They wanted it in the colours. I think ideally if they had the L1 on top of the BC, it wouldn't have looked as much as UBC. Because I think once you look at it and you see UBC, it's then hard to see anything different.
Yeah.
That said, I actually quite like it. I think I like the colours. I like the logo of it. It's going to be a big focus on youth development. So you're probably talking on the whole, it's going to be a bulk of under 23 players. There will obviously be overage players in the league as well. And they're being brought in with a view to sharing their knowledge with the younger guys and helping to bring them on and stuff like that, which I think is a good thing. It's going to be a strong standards-based league. We'll get into that in a sec. That's in every aspect: playing, training, broadcasting. Yeah, I mean, that's the long and the short of what we know just now. It's exciting times. I can't wait for it to start. I'll be honest with you, Zach. I love this level of football, but I just can't wait for this to start.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. When you're talking about a country that lacks the type of professional football pyramid that you find in places like South America and Europe, the dialogue has always been, okay, well, how do you start one or re-implement one or build one or create one or whatever? And ultimately it was felt that like you have to start with a pro level, otherwise you won't be able to build anything in the way North America works and the financial element, components of things. And so that's why the Canadian Premier League came first. However, we talked a number of times, and I've had conversations with many friends, including one time or sometime lurker of the show, Jeff Tinker. He always used to say, like, no, you got to start from the grassroots up. And even though things didn't go that way, I'm really excited that we are now finally getting this in British Columbia.
Well, it's taken a while because it was first mooted that it was going to be a Tier 3 regional league back in 2016.
Yeah.
And
BC Soccer when did the first thing go up? Was it 2017? 2018?
The Tier 3 one initially was 2016 when they were looking for people to submit.
Right.
And I've heard two different stories. One, that there was just one person that expressed interest, and the other one that there was two notes of interest. Either way, that's not a league. It's not ideal. And we've talked a little bit about this on the show before, but there's so much self-interest in the lower leagues in BC, and I totally get it. The ideal situation for me as a lover of like watching the VMSL, Fraser Valley League, the Vancouver Island Soccer League, provincial cup time, that was when I first discovered the lower leagues, really. I started going out to provincial cup games, and I loved it because I love cup games. That's what drew me in. And then I was like, I want to watch more of this level, and then started going to VMSL games, then thought, I'm just going to film the odd bit here and there, and now every other weekend I'm out and I'm filming games. They're getting hundreds of views on YouTube, made some good friends through it and contacts, and I love it. Obviously, I'm a bit unique in folk in North America not liking that level of soccer. But the self-interest has always been, the dream scenario would have been Vancouver Metro Soccer League, Fraser Valley Soccer League, Vancouver Island Soccer League would get together, form the semi-professional league. That would be a very, very strong level because there's a lot of ex-pros there, folk that's come through the Whitecaps Academy, folk that's gone and played in Europe. You're talking a high level, a high quality of football involved in this. Everyone wanted to look out for themselves, and I get that because it's their league. VMSL is the top amateur league in the province. Why would they want to share it with leagues that they feel inferior? Why would they want to travel to the island for not much money when they can just play all the games locally and have a beer afterwards, and they're not adding an extra 4 or 5 hours onto their day as family men? So I do get that, which is, I think, in part, Zach, why they're focusing on the youth element of this. And it's not these traditional clubs, some of whom are a little bit miffed that they've been left out of the equation because BC Soccer want to rebrand it and have new clubs coming in.
I think you and I have talked about this. I think you're looking at it from one perspective if you say they've been left out. Because to me, the opportunity in 2016 was anyone could get in.
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, anyone could get in if you wanted to. And like you said, there was one or two interested parties, which does not make a league, right?
In part, it was because of the financial commitment and some of the other standards which involved playing in an enclosed park, being able to charge fans attendance, have broadcasting capabilities. There's not a lot of those venues in the lower mainland.
Well,
that's available regularly over the summer, because Swan Guard's almost fully booked for other things during the summer.
But I don't know. To me, there is and there isn't. Two things. One, yes, things to do that costs money. So yes, I agree. I don't know I don't know the ballpark we're talking in, but yes, there would be a financial commitment, which seems obvious was a barrier for many. But man, like to me, it's like where there's a will, there's a way. And whether it's, yes, looking out for self-interest, as you mentioned, or just saying, hey, this isn't going to take off. If we don't, I wonder how much there was behind the scenes, Michael, some of these well-established clubs just saying, hey, if we all don't go in on this, it's not going to happen. And we can just kind of keep going the way we are, like,
because there's so much in it as well. Because it's like, what is in it for those clubs to put the money up? And the answer is not a lot, which again is why they've gone with the youth development. Right. And I think that's the way to go, because you're bringing on, that it's going to be a semi-pro league, so players are going to get paid, not masses amount of money. Yeah. You're not going to be having rosters that rivals like USL or anything like that, or CPL. Be a bit closer to CPL than USL, I'd imagine. But it's creating it's discovering the new crop of talent. It's this pathway that we've talked about needing. And why is there not BC players in the national team set up? It's because we don't have these opportunities for them.
Yeah, and that is the light at the end of the tunnel. It is. I mean, I think whatever everyone hopes this will turn into is multiple players like Alistair Johnston, who played in League One Ontario, and is now playing in MLS and playing regularly in the national team, contributing regularly in the national team. That's like the long-term, I think, goal for every like from BC Soccer's perspective, from the CSA's perspective. And so, yeah, the fact that there are some long-established VMSL or Fraser Valley or Vancouver Island clubs that would have maybe liked to have been a part of it, but didn't take the opportunity, or there wasn't enough of them that took the opportunity when things were, opened up to them in 2016, to now have them complain, to me is kind of rings a little hollow. If I don't know if that's fair enough. But
it's only a few that's a little bit miffed by it. Some of them are quite happy doing what they're doing, right. And what I like about this is it's a summer league,
right?
So you've got
competing with those leagues.
We're going to get someone from BC Soccer on the show in the coming weeks, and we'll talk to them. I was going to do it for this episode, but I thought there's not a lot out there just now that they can elaborate on anyway, and it's all covered in the Cones and Pennies podcast, so that's the place to go for your info just now. But the only overlap might be around Provincial Cup time. And TSS Rovers had that in the USL. There was battles. It's like, look, these are our guys. We want them to play for us. No, we want them to play for us. And so BC Soccer put on that competition, so I'm sure they'll sort that out. But this lets all the amateur leagues do their stuff in the winter. These guys have the summer. There's local summer football leagues, but it's not a high level. So I think it's a win-win situation. Yeah. And you're still going to get some players that if they do really well in the VMSL, they can get scouted by Pacific FC. And we saw that, not always hugely successfully, but like guys like Jordan Haynes and Victor Blasco were playing in VMSL, and now they're playing in the CPL. So I think this is the best of both worlds. I'll put some questions to you, Zach, about this. First of all, do you feel that BC is ready for this league? And I'm going to give it in three different things. First of all, player-wise, is there enough quality players out there to sustain 7 teams at a good level?
Before I answer specifically with the players, your question of is BC ready just in general? I think sometimes, Michael, leadership isn't about being like, is everyone ready? It's about leading. It's about paving a path, about carving a way out. And so I like that. In that respect, I appreciate what they're trying to do. Does that mean everything that BC Soccer is going to do around this is going to be perfect, or they're going to get it all right? No. But I appreciate that they're like, this is finally happening. And this is not just propelling BC forward, but is hopefully going to continue to propel Canada forward, right? It's in the 3 largest provinces. And whether those 3 interact or other leagues form across the prairies or the Maritimes or whatever, I think this is.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping for. Because, I mean, League One BC has been fantastic.
You mean League One Ontario?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We're talking about...
Ahead of yourself.
Sorry, I just popped into the future for a little bit. I've just come back to say it's fantastic. East Fife Van were tremendous in it. And, I mean, triple champs, the three-peat, it was great.
But no, so that's the first thing. I think this is, yeah. Is BC ready for it? Probably not, to be honest. But I think there are those who know that it needs to move forward, and so they're trying to lead change. So
I'll expand in, just sort of cut you off, but like I mentioned the players there, but also like, are they ready for referees? Are the fans ready for it? So when you're talking about this, we'll encompass all of those three things.
On those levels, I'll be honest with you. Obviously, when it comes to like the player side of things, my knowledge is let's say limited. But I've heard some people say that maybe again, it's we're not really ready for it, and it's going to take some growth. I guess my optimistic perspective is I don't think any of us thought that the CPL would come out kind of at the level it was when it first started. I think like in our, amongst us here.
Yeah, I've said constantly how surprised I've been by the quality of it.
Yeah, we all thought it would be a little bit, at least a little bit lower of a level to start.
I was basing it on this level of football that we're talking about just now.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if BC is ready in terms of like has the player pool for it, and I guess we're gonna find that out and see how difficult it is or how easy it is for these inaugural 7 clubs to fill their squad. And
the good thing about it though is that the teams should hopefully all be at about the same level.
Yeah, hopefully. That would probably make things more interesting on the whole.
And looking at the tough time Vancouver's Whitecaps under-19s are currently having in the Fraser Valley League that I thought they were going to walk. They just got thrashed 5-0 on Thursday by Abbotsford United.
Up the Abbotsford.
Yeah, up the Abbey. And that it's like a lot of these guys could be in this league, and it's like, maybe the quality is out there. But Abbotsford is an older side as well, so it's like an over 23 side. Men
versus boys. Yeah, we'll see on the player side of things. What you said?
Well, the refs as well, because it's like, do we have enough refs? So I mean, it's they have to learn somewhere.
Refs, yeah, I have even less of an idea when it comes to this. Although talking to friend of the show, Chris Harrop about this, he is someone who aspires. He's done some games and stuff. He's an active referee and referee's assistant and stuff, and he's hoping that he can, get involved as a referee with this. And
hopefully I can abuse him. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, continue to develop and grow as a referee, right? But then, how many people are there that want to be in that role? I don't really know.
I don't know. Is there enough guide dogs to go around?
When it comes to the fans, it'll be interesting to see how the fan culture develops around this. And
that's the interesting one, because I mean, in Cones and Pennies, Pete Shad was talking about the ideal scenario that teams are drawing 4-figure crowds, and I'm like, Whitecaps too struggled to draw 4-figure crowds in their death throes.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they put this to the people, but I think their initial language here of like, hey, this is for the community.
That's like the big selling point.
Yeah, I just like the fact that they're using the word community. They're not like, we're trying to get into the right markets in BC, and everyone has been socialized or by osmosis has heard this business language around sports, and they all adopted, and it grinds against my soul. And so I was happy when they were just like, this is going to be for communities. We want communities to support their local team.
Well, when you folk like Pete involved, like he's so astute, and he knows football, and he knows what BC gets people on board, and he knows BC as well. Yeah. So I mean, like looking at something like Coquitlam Metro Ford, what they've got out there is fantastic with all the youth teams, and they're in the community. And I've been out at some Metroford Wolves VMSL games, out at Charles Best or out at Percy Perry or the roundabout stadiums there. They pack the fans out to that because it's a community thing.
Yeah.
And that's what League One BC needs to tap into. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different because this is in the summer, and there's a lot of folk got other things in the summer. But you saw with TSS Rovers how you can engage a fan base and get them in, and that's what all these clubs need to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The advantage they'll have over what TSS did when they originally joined USL is it's not, hey, we're TSS and we're going to be playing these teams most of these people have never heard of from around USL. It's going to be, hey, we're going to be playing 6 other teams from BC, and these places, and you're going to want your community not to.
I don't know. I disagree with that because TSS were playing Portland and Seattle. So they're playing Timbers and Sounders under 23. So that's an easier sell, and Victoria Highlanders. So that's an easier sell as opposed. Now, I'm just picking these at random. I'm not giving anything away, as opposed to saying, oh, Coquitlam's playing West Vancouver today. Although in VMSL, that's a huge rivalry, so that would get a good crowd out. As a bad example, let's just say Delta is playing North Van. I don't know that has the same kind of thing. Obviously, the teams are going to have names that's linked into the community. Pete was involved heavily with the branding in CPL. He's been involved in the branding with this, so he's going to be delving into that. And you want community clubs. It's what English non-league football has thrived upon. Scottish non-league football is now starting to do that. In Scotland, I've talked about this before, there's something called the juniors, which isn't kids, it's adults, and it's non-league. And a lot of it is Ayrshire pit towns, like old mining towns. They draw thousands to their games because it's community. And that's something they really need to tap into. Like, what makes those clubs tick is what would make League One BC clubs tick, hopefully.
Yeah. And so that's exciting. And I mean, if they're talking about gates and whatever, and people having to pay to get into it, it'll also be like how reasonable they are with this, right? Like,
that's my concern. If folk are paying, I don't know that they turn out, because you've got good level VMSL games that are free, and folk aren't turning up for them because folk don't have that interest in that level of football. And although this is a more professional level technically because it's Regional 3, genuinely the kind of football you'd see in VMSL would be of a higher quality on the whole than you might see in this league. So, and Whitecaps 2 was such a hard sell, and I know part of it was because they're playing out of Thunderbird Stadium. But even when they went to Langley, it was a hard sell there, although that is also another stadium that is not the easiest to get to if you don't drive. I don't know how folk get to that stadium if they don't drive.
You're talking about McLeod?
Yeah, that was awful. Even driving there, it's like take a wrong turn, you're in the middle of nowhere, there's planes flying over and you're like, I'm in the middle of an airfield.
It's next to an airport, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was just me. But I'm excited for it. I think the important thing is people need to give this a chance. Year one is not going to be perfect.
No.
And the quality might not be great in year one. But years 3 and year 5, I think it is. And the important thing is that BC Soccer are making it a standards-based league. Mm-hmm. And you've got to be training, I think it's 4 nights a week or 4 days a week.
It's a 4-1 ratio with the games, right?
Yeah. And then you're playing at the weekends. It's broadcasting. The games are going to be streamed, so it's going to be very professional setup. Hopefully with commentary. I mean, who knows? There was lots of talk that League One Ontario was meant to be going on One Soccer, but we haven't seen that yet. Maybe League One BC down the line will see those games on One Soccer, which would be fantastic. And that's how you get it out there.
Yeah.
But year one might be a bit of a struggle, and I hope folk don't write it off for that. But these clubs are making a financial commitment for like 3 to 5 years that they're going to be part of this, and it's going to be growing. Let us know your thoughts on it. Let us know what you'd like to see from this league. If you think it can work, what would make it work? What would get you interested to go into these games? Come and let us know. I'm curious by that. If this is a level of football that you're not used to watching, what would make you come out to them? Hopefully we get a few replies to that, and we'll cover it next week.
Yeah.
But that is pretty much it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. Still time for Wavelength though, and kind of tying in with this, I mentioned that I've tried to pick a theme of our songs for this month of giving football clubs back to the community and the community spirit and having the fans take it back from the money men. So it ties in well with what BC Soccer are trying to do here with League One. So I'm going to play a song just now. I'm not sure what year it came out. It was the late 2000s. It's from an Oxford Oi band called Loyalty. And this is Give Football Back to the Working Class.
Time for football, money is in the game. Millionaires in the Premier League built the fortune and fame. But for most of the clubs in the country, the struggle is just the same. If your club is going bankrupt, it's not such a funny old game. Get football back to its working class roots, save it while we can. Get football back to the way it was, the sport of the working class man. Years on the terraces, now you can't afford the price. So take your kids down to the match, thought they'd support them for life. There's a new breed of hooligan, he scored the middle class fan. He's got his credit card and his mobile phone, and he's got your seat in the stand. Get football back to its working class roots, save it while we can. Get football back to the way it was, the sport of the working class man. It's for the people, not the millionaires. Emperors pretend to shed a few tears, but does anybody really care? But one day in Brighton, they came from far and wide. Fans united together, united on the same side. Get football back to its working class roots, save it while we can. Get football back to the way it was, the sport of the working class man. Get football back to the working class. Get football back to the working class. Get football back to the working class. Get football back to the working class.
Oxford band Loyalty there with Give Football Back to the Working Class. Get the money men out the game. Get the gambling sites out the game. Pretty sure there's some players around the league that might be agreeing with that. And give it back to the fans. That's what League One BC is all going to be about. Hopefully you get out and support that as well. That is it though for this week's show. Just before we go, Zach, let folk know where they can find you online and anything you've learned this Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really thankful. I'm thankful for the people who listen to this podcast and engage with us online or via email or whatever. Yeah, I'm just thankful for this community and the opportunity to be a part of it.
Beautiful sentiments there. Like, in all seriousness, I am as well. Like, this is episode 480 now of this show, and we've brought out 50 odd podcasts in our extra one as well. We've done YouTube stuff, and to have you guys watching along at home, interacting with us online, sending the tweets and the emails, it really does mean a lot to me. This has been a great community since moving to Canada in 2007. getting into the football community here helped me settle in. Made lots of lifelong friends out of it, like Zach, like Steve, and we really enjoy doing these shows. Hopefully we'll do them for many, many more years to come, and we really appreciate you listening. Read all our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give me a follow on Twitter at AFTN Canada, and on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. Subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, all that kind of stuff. One thing that I learned this weekend, because when I got back from commentating at UBC on Saturday, watched the Whitecaps game. It was a late night for me. Then I wanted to watch the boxing, the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder fight, the third fight between these three. Tyson Fury beaten Wilder now 3 times, only twice officially. The other one was deemed a draw. What I learned from this is Deontay Wilder is a very bad loser. Wouldn't accept the nice words from Tyson Fury after the end of the fight and just walked out the ring, didn't do any interviews in the ring, and said he had no respect for Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's reply is a religious man, and you'll like this one, Zach. I'm going to pray that his cold heart gets some warmth in it.
I knew you were talking to me about a fight you were going to watch, but I only know about this fight is because Eric Castle shared on his Facebook page he shared a clip of the knockout or whatever.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, the fight should have been over way before that because Wilder was out on his feet. But for the second fight in a row where he beats Wilder, Tyson Fury just grabs the mic and sings a song after it. This time he changed walking in Memphis to I'm walking in Vegas. And he just belts out this full song after going 11 rounds and being knocked down twice as well in it. Incredible guy. Anyway, thank you for listening. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend, everybody. Let us know what you're thankful for, whether it's football-wise or whatever. We will be back soon with another show. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. Mon the Caps and Allez la Rouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left, yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.